You know what can be intimidating about fishing soft plastics is choosing the right color. For you guys that are new to fishing, see so many colors that it can really be a little bit intimidating. Let's go into my shop, show you what I like to use. So I got a lot of colors too. When you really narrow it down, as many colors as I have in my tackle box, most of the time I end up using 2 or 3 colors. At the same time, even though there's only 2 or 3 colors in high rotation, there are times where you need a lot of the wacky stuff, a lot of the really specific colors. Let's talk about that too. So any of you watched my channel from previous years, before I redid my shop, added all the walls, this entire side of my shop was nothing but soft plastics, and I bet I had 50 or 60 colors. This is literally every soft plastic that I pretty much use in tour competition right here. That's it. I mean, and this is every variation of the bait color, of the bait shapes and sizes and everything. This is everything that I need in that small space. So a lot has changed in the last 5 or 6 years. Now with that being said, I didn't get rid of every color. This whole cabinet right here is full of things that I would call my one-off baits. You can see a lot of plastics down there in the bottom, and there's some at the top. But the stuff that I know I'm going to use, I keep on the wall behind me. So one of the techniques that I've found that color really seems to matter a lot with, Ned rigging. The Ned rig's really popular right now. I remember when I first saw that. When I first saw the Ned rig come, like this has been 7 or 8 years ago when I was first introduced to the Ned rig. I saw this guy with a couple plastics sitting on a table. It was Ned himself, Ned Katie. Saw a couple plastics sitting on the table. They were all chopped up. They were like chopped up Cincos, chopped up Jean LaRue products, and they were just all like little pieces. They look like little crappy jigs. I was like, dude, what is this guy doing? And he really seems to understand the value of color, specifically with the Ned rig. And that is one bait that I found that you can really trigger bites by using different colors a little better with the Ned rig, because I think because it's such a small profile in the water that you're relying on the color of that bait to draw the attention to get a bite. Finesse TRD, ticklers, hula stick. We use those 3 colors. These 3 bait profiles, I'm sorry, those are not colors. All right, so you can see my colors are actually pretty limited, but there's purpose behind every color. I've got this color right here, the meat dog color. There's purpose behind every color I have. This particular one right here is called Meat Dog. Most of the time when I'm using a Ned rig, I'm probably mimic these 2 baits, which I guess in all actuality, every bait that we use is trying to mimic the same thing. I'm gonna mimic small shad, some type of small forage fish, whether that be alewives, whether that be shad, threadfin shad, whatever the shad forage is in that body of water, or some type of small crustacean like a crawfish. So my colors, my natural colors, are with that in mind. I pretty much clump my colors into the natural category, which is Meat Dog, like what you see here. See, it's got a purple and bluish look, which depending on the water clarity and the sunlight level of that day is going to give me a shad forage. Now, with that being said, for your shad forage color, it doesn't mean you have to throw Meat Dog, but I basically divided into 3 categories: shad, crawfish, and then what I would call like wild stuff. I don't know what you would call it. Bright, stupid, ugly baits. Those are the 3 categories that I'm trying to meet with my bait colors. So for my shad forage, Meat Dog is a good one. When I'm trying to catch fish that are suspended, that are feeding on small shad. When I'm trying to catch fish that are schooling. People don't know how good this TRD is for, especially in the fall time, even in the summer. When fish are feeding on shad, the TRD, throw it out and just slowly reel it through the school of fish. Don't really realize how. We're gonna do a video on that at some point. Tight lining a finesse TRD. My dad actually taught me that. Throwing it out and just slowly reeling it back to the boat. That is a technique. When I'm trying to back up, when I'm trying to mimic a shad, catch schooling fish, I know they're feeding on some type of forage fish. It's gonna be Meat Dog for me, all right? The purplish blue one. Or it's gonna be this one right here, the Deal. The Deal works for everything. It could be a crawfish color. You see it's got green pumpkin on the back, and then you flip it over and it's got like this pearlescent body. That literally is the Deal right there. That color's great. That's pretty much, and I'm gonna have that in all 3 profiles that I have. I'll have the Deal in the hula stick, I'll have the Deal in the TRD, and I'll have the Deal in the ticklers. The 3 profiles that I use, I'm gonna have those 3 colors in it. All right, now, so those are really the only, if you look at my wall up behind me right here, the only 2 shad forage colors I have is Meat Dog and the Deal. That's gonna meet my criteria for shad forage color baits. My second category of colors that I like to have for the Ned rig, and this really kind of translates to all plastics. When you get into stick baits and so forth, you probably notice I won't have quite as many colors in the shaddy looking stuff. It'll be mostly just green pumpkins, browns, and maybe a loud color. So I'll have that in all 3 profiles. You're probably wondering, when do you throw ticklers, when do you throw a hula stick, and when do you throw a TRD? That's hard for me to answer. When they're not biting one, I pick up the other one. I know you wanted a complicated discussion like I'm giving you on these colors, but I honestly don't have it for that. Those are just the 3 I use. And if they're not biting one, I pick up the other one. You know, obviously the ones that are smaller stay on the bottom better in deeper water, etc. But I've used hula sticks in 2 foot of water, and I've used hula sticks in 40. And I've used the TRD in 10 foot of water, and I've used it in 2, and I've used it in 50. So you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt. I just use the one that they're going to bite for that day. Now let's look into crawfish colors, crustacean colors, whatever you want to call it. Stuff that lives on the bottom, gobies, crawfish. What's the other stuff? Other stuff that crawls around and gets in roots around the rocks. Your crawfish colors. Obviously, let me, you know, I'm not even going to bother to put it green pumpkin, duh, right? Everybody's going to have some type of brown or green pumpkin. I'm not even going to bother to show you that, because if you're fishing and you're watching this video, you know that green pumpkin works. And every soft plastic there is, you're going to have some variation of green pumpkin in there. But when you want to get off the beaten path and maybe something else is a better choice, that's what this video is about. So my like crustacean, crawfish, I'm trying to think of other stuff that crawls on the bottom, and I can't think of anything right now. Is everything that crawls on the bottom of a lake a crawfish? Answer me that in the comments, because I don't know what else is. Quite frankly, I guess it doesn't really matter. All you need to know is where the fish are and whatever they're eating is at. Is it in the middle or is it in the bottom? That's all you really need to know. So anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent. Crawfish colors. You know green pumpkin is going to be on there, right? So we have this color right here. What are they called? Is this the hot craw? Yeah, hot craw. Hot craw is a good color. Red bottom. Can you see that? Green pump. There it goes again. Green pumpkin. You notice two colors already have had green pumpkin in it. Green pumpkin on the back. That's going to be your crawfish color. Anytime the fish are feeding on the bottom. Sometimes even when they're fishing, I'll even tight line this color too. And then this one is a really good one that I've grown to like. It's kind of skating the line of my crazy colors and just good, simple, like crawfish colors. But this is called Hot Snakes and the Ticklers. I got one of my ticklers just having a bad day. That's one thing you really want to pay attention to with the Lastec stuff is how they're packaged. Make sure they're laying nice and straight in your bag. You see, I got that one to act somewhat appropriate. Sometimes you can take it and stretch it like that and get it to act right. But that's sort of like a deep green chartreuse with a green pumpkin back again. And this is another one that I found that's been very good for mimicking a crawfish or some type of crawly thing that grows in the bottom of the lake. It's one of my favorite colors is this one, besides green pumpkin. Green pumpkin, hot craw. Literally every profile that I have in the Ned rig, I've got that color in, okay? So basically that's all I'm throwing in the 3 profiles I have. The ticklers, the TRD, and the ticklers, TRD, and what's my third one? Ticklers, TRD, and my hula stick, okay? For those 2 categories, I have one more category of colors that I like to use. Most of the time when people think about bright colors, they think about throwing that in stained or muddy water. It's actually false for me. The clearer the water, the more likely I am to use those loud, bright colors for soft plastics, because in a clear water situation, drawing a strike a lot of times is about visual presence. The fish sees the bait and he goes to get it. It's not about feeling the bait and him finding it. Does that make sense? In stained or dark water or deep water, most of the time the fish is using their lateral line to find the bait. They feel the vibration of the bait. They feel it going through the water column. They go and bite it. In a clear water situation, I'm calling clear water anything from, I'm going to say 3 to 4 foot visibility and deeper. Bright colors really work well in that situation. I've got 1, 2 profiles that kick butt in clear water situations. I'll show them to you right now. All right, look at my bright colors. This is one of the colors right here. Bubblegum. You see that pink in there? That's a good clear water color. The other one, I only have 1 pack left. I think we've been using these at the pond. Probably the color that I use more than anything, right there. Copper Truce. Let me show you. These 2 colors are ugly. Like, they ain't pretty at all. Like, these colors, let me set you down here. Let me set you down. Okay, these colors, fair warning. This is your warning. Doo-doo-doo. Fair warning. The colors that I am about to show you are but ugly. They are not enticing. They will not make you tingle on the inside. They are asinine. Yes, I said asinine. You do not have to cover your kids' ears. That was not a bad word. All right, Copper Truce. Copper Truce is but ugly, y'all. I remember the first time they introduced me to this color, I thought it was stupid. I remember the guy, Z-Man, I was telling him about some fish that I had found waiting. Give you a short story, let me back up. I didn't use the Ned rig in a lake for a long time. I was using it to fish for spotted bass in a river that I used to wade in. We're talking 2014. Didn't realize this was a tournament winning bait at the time. Like, a lot of tournaments have been won on this. And these little spotted bass, they'll set, some of them are little, some of them are big, but these spotted bass will set in these holes in the river. And you could visually see them setting in the holes. And I would cast I'd throw Canada Craw, I'd throw all these really natural looking colors at them, could not get them to bite. And I'm like, hey Glenn, I'm like, bro, you know, I'm finding all these fish in these holes and I can't get them to bite. What should I do? Should I use bigger? Should I use small? He was like, have you tried anything bright? I was like, well, no, that didn't make any sense. They're sitting in the hole. I can see them. The water's, I can see all the way down to the bottom. It makes no sense to use bright colors. It's like sometimes the bright colors make them react. I'll be doggone if I didn't tie on Copper Truce. I throw in the holes, 3-pound spotted bass jumps on the TRD automatically. So clear water, I know you've been taught, you've been trained in muddy water to use bright colors. Guys, think about this. In muddy water, there is no light penetration. They don't see your bait, period. The analogy that I like to always draw is if I put on, I went in one of my rooms in my house, cut out all the lights. The dark room would represent dark water, muddy water. Muddy water, there's no light, right? Can't see anything. If I went in my room, cut out all the lights, and I went in there and I put on a bright red shirt, you wouldn't be able to tell that I had a bright red shirt on. The only way you would find me is if I would make some movement and you could feel that wind, or if I made some noise. So when you're in a muddy water, dark water situation, the only way for a bait to find, for a fish to find your bait is through movement. He feels it, or noise. You make some type of racket, noise, clanking, rattles. It's hitting the bottom, it's dragging the bottom. It's the only way for a fish to find your bait. But in clear water, you have both of those. He can hear it, he can feel it, he can see it. And so you can draw a reaction strike, just like how you throw a bait out and you work it erratically. You can be erratic with your colors and draw a reaction too. This is one of the best colors for that. It's Copper Truce. Back when I was a kid, we didn't call it Copper Truce. We had a color, like, what was it? Chartreuse pepper, the chartreuse with the black flake in it. Here comes that color again. You see it's got a green pumpkin back with like orange flake in it. And it's got that big old ugly, nasty chartreuse belly, and it's bright and ugly. I can see it almost go to the bottom in 10 foot of water. My favorite color to throw. I've caught so many 3-pound spotted bass on this color right here. Just rigging it on a Ned head. Now you can take this and rig it. This will have to be a separate video, but you can take the same bait and rig it so many different ways. Drop shot, Ned rig, Carolina rig, Texas rig. There's a bunch of different ways to rig it, but right now this is what we're talking about. It's just the color aspect of it. So that's going to be one of my bright colors that I'm going to use in the Ned rig. Quite honestly, this is probably the first color I go to grab for, besides green pumpkin. Because I'm going to go, those are only 3 categories I use. Bright, somewhere in the middle, natural brown, or bait fish. Every profile, in all 3 profiles. And then I have this other color. This is also my bright colored bait, Bubble Gut. This one's Bubble Gut right here. I got to pay attention to my tails. You really have to be intentional about how you lay your bags. If they get a little wonky, you see how that just doesn't, how they look a little jacked up. You can just take them and pull them, and a lot of times you can get them to straighten back up, because I know that's happening to you. That happens. Yes, they're already starting to straighten up a little bit. But Bubble Gut, pink on the bottom. Guess what color's on the back? Bam! You already guessed it. Brown on the back end. That's my other color that I really, really like to use in clear water situations when I know it's a visual strike. Bubble Gut. That'll get their attention. It's got a little red flake in it. They should call it like Valentine. This is pink, brown, with a little red flake in it. These two colors, awesome colors. They'll get you bites. I've caught a lot of fish on these two colors, especially in the spring. But I'm telling you, these finesse tactics are really underrated for fall time fishing when it gets really, really weird out there. And they get off like a topwater bite, or they get off of, you know, your normal stuff that you want to fish. You should really try throwing this sometimes where you would normally throw some type of power fishing style baits. So I hope that helps you pick out the colors that you want to, that you should be using for your Ned rigs. This talk, even though it's specific to Ned rigs, it would cross over into pretty much all plastics, stick baits, finesse worms, 6/8, 6-inch worms, 8-inch worms, 12-inch worms, whatever you're using. 3 categories: shad, forage fish, stuff that crawls on the bottom, crawfish, and ugly colors. You need all 3 of those in all of your profiles from top to bottom. All right, you got it? The baits that I got here and the colors, if you don't know by now, I have a website that is set up just for baits, just for you guys to shop on. It's my personal selections. Everything that I put in my tackle box, we actually inventory it in our warehouse and have it set up on a website called shopbelat.com. A lot of you have already shopped there and you bought things. Thank you for supporting that. As long as you're buying it, I'm going to have the site there for you to buy. I know a lot of people ask, where do you use it? Where can you get it? Well, I got it. All you got to do is check the link in the description box of this video, and you'll have everything and all of these colors that I mentioned here, because I don't put anything on the site unless I've actually caught fish on it or use it, or I think it's a good bait for you guys to use in the waters that you fish. So shopbelat.com. We got everything you need to get you started with your colors and start building out your tackle inventory. Appreciate it, y'all. See ya.